The last several weeks, we have read the book of Daniel, one of the five major prophets of the Bible. There are 12 minor prophets of the Bible, with each one of the books being in the Old Testament. The labels major and minor do not mean that one is more important than the other. It means the length of the prophecy that was recorded. We are going to begin with Hosea, the first minor prophet, which comes right after Daniel, so you can keep your bookmark right where it is. At this time, the nation was divided into the north and the south. Hosea preached in the northern kingdom, Israel, when the nation was prospering outwardly but decaying inwardly and facing certain judgment. The overriding image in this book is of a marriage, a true love story, real and tragic. Hosea's role was to show how this kingdom had been unfaithful to God, their husband and provider, and had married themselves to Baal and the gods of Canaan. He warned them that unless they repented of their sins and turned back to God, they were headed for destruction. Hosea's marriage to an unfaithful woman would illustrate God's relationship to the unfaithful nation of Israel. Hosea married a woman named Gomer, who bore him 3 children and then deserted him and became a prostitute. Hosea had to buy her back out of a slave market. His painful experience was a sermon to the nation. This painful relationship parallels the country of Israel, who was married to Jehovah but committed spiritual adultery and turned to idols. That, in turn, led to moral decay to the nation. The nation would suffer for her sins, but the Lord would one day redeem her and restore her, just as Hosea purchased Gomer back so she would continue to be his wife. We are going to break the book down into 4 parts. This week, we will read the introduction through chapters 3. This part tells of Hosea's marriage. In chapters 4 through 7, we will read about Israel's sins. The judgment of Israel will be written about in chapters 8 through 10. And finally, chapters 11 through 14 will describe Israel's future restoration. The book begins with God's marriage instructions to Hosea. After Hosea's marriage, children were born, and each given a name signifying a divine message. Then in chapter 2, as predicted, Gomer left Hosea to pursue her lusts. But Hosea, whose name means salvation, found her, redeemed her, and brought her home again, fully reconciled in chapter 3. Betrayal is a painful, heart-damaging act done to your life's partner, just as Hosea's wife Gomer was unfaithful to him, so the nation of Israel had been unfaithful to God. The book of Hosea dramatically portrays our God's constant and persistent love. As you read this book, watch the prophet submit himself willingly to the Lord's direction, grieve with him over the unfaithfulness of his wife and his people, and hear the clear warning of judgment. Then reaffirm your commitment to being God's person, faithful in your love and true in your vows. Read chapters 1 through 3, followed by the Salt Shaker devotion written by Jeannie and Heather this week. And on Friday, just enjoy some quiet time. Pull up the song Amazing Grace on YouTube and just reflect on what you've read from the book of Hosea. Remember, Biblical shakers will make reading the Bible way more enjoyable for you. And I pray that the Holy Spirit will put a hunger on your heart